Hey guys, my name is Michael Albachton, and let me introduce you to kind of who I am. For starters, so let's go with sports, which is one of my favorite things. My favorite soccer team is Real Madrid here in Spain. I got to go to the stadium last week. It was amazing. Favorite American sports, football, probably basketball as well. I'd say my favorite school is the University of Michigan. I got in there, loved it. It was awesome. I couldn't afford it. Way too much money. It's part of the reason why I'm applying here. Um, Go blue all the way. I love basketball and football. The Packers are my number one NFL team. Can't go without the cheese heads, as you guys have probably heard. Um, Probably my favorite book is The Kite Runner. Khaled Hosseini, excellent writer. He's also got two other great books, A Thousand Suns and When the Mountains Echoed. They're both phenomenal, but The Kite Runner is probably my favorite. So I guess that's kind of just a basic introduction to who I am. Let's kind of get started with the few questions that you guys wanted me to answer. So I think the first one I'm going to go ahead and answer is what's kind of the biggest difference between myself and my peers in high school and college. The biggest difference for me was probably that when I got to college, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and it took me 2.5 years to figure out what I wanted. And my friends, my two best friends, they knew exactly what they wanted to do. Mitch, he has always been a big film guy, loves producing, filming, whether that comes to zombie movies, experimental light film, just writing storyboards for other people's films or working on sound design and other things of that nature. He's always kind of known what he wanted to do, and now he's graduated with a bachelor's in film and video from Grand Valley State University. Super jealous. He's going to do awesome things. He even has his own production company starting to set up, Mitch Slap Productions. The guy's the master of puns. And my other best friend Caleb, he was always way better at science than I was. He used to help me with my chemistry all the time in high school, even though I'm great at math and I was in calculus, but I could not figure out chemistry to save my life. So we always kind of knew he was going to go into like biomedical science, chemistry, something like that. And it seems now that he's working on finishing up his degree in exercise science. That makes sense for me because he's always been super fit, always eating healthy, always working out, doing his own thing. So he really has been an inspiration to me because he's not going to finish in like 4 years like Mitch. He's kind of taking a little bit longer, but he knows what he wants to do. And for me, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I got to college. I was thinking like general business, and then 6 months in, I switched to geology. I love geology, but it just wasn't my thing. I like to be around people and interact with people. Geology isn't really the career field for that. So I decided to switch to hospitality and tourism after working a summer for a cottage company in Grand Haven, Michigan, on Lake Michigan. Absolutely loved the job, fell in love with the customer service and the hospitality aspect of it. So then I started working at a hotel, took some tourism classes, and then ended up dropping out of school just because it was incredibly difficult balancing everything that was going on in my personal life with that. And so that's kind of been the biggest difference I've noticed between like my friends and me in high school and college. A lot of people that I know have always kind of known what they wanted to do. They've always been really good at one thing, and I've always really liked all the subjects and all I like sports, video games, all that kind of stuff. So it's been difficult for me to kind of decide and settle on one area. Next question is probably we're gonna go with the changing the belief. And I think for me, the last time I changed a belief was probably has to do with guns and gun ownership in the United States. I myself have a couple shotguns and a 22 long rifle. I'm a big proponent of shooting for sport and like target shooting. I've never been one to hunt animals. I love shooting like clay pigeons, cans out on the back 40 up north of my cabin. Love that kind of stuff, but it's kind of in these past 6 months for me, it's been when I was younger, I used to be like, oh yeah, everybody should own all the guns they want, like whatever, this is America, stereotypically. But I think the more I've noticed and the more I've seen that's going on with just the people in this country and the direction that we're headed with gun violence, is just, I think it would be good if you had to pass an extremely rigorous background test to buy any kind of gun, whether that be a .22 long rifle, a shotgun for shooting deer, or a Glock 9mm for whatever you want to use that for, a personal firearm. You just, the rules need to be more stringent. I'm a huge proponent of like owning your own guns, but now I've changed the fact that I believe that there should be a lot more restrictions. There should be a very, very rigorous process you have to go through just to obtain a firearm, versus being able to go into a store, pass a simple background test, and be able to buy an AR-15 and spend a week learning how to modify it to an automatic weapon and go kill a bunch of people. Orlando really kind of changed that for me. Finally, that was like the last straw. And then seeing what happened in Dallas this past week has kind of also been like just another kind of nail in that coffin for me. So that's probably the last time I've changed a belief. And now I believe that we should have much more stringent gun laws, and we should definitely have a not so much lenience or apathy towards people who buy guns and the process of buying guns. I think my favorite thinker, it was definitely Galileo. He was incredibly far ahead of his time, pushed the boundaries of astronomy as well as founding modern science as we know it. He was a great thinker along with Sir Francis Bacon in determining like the scientific method, and his model of the universe, which is known as the heliocentric model, was Copernicus was the first to hypothesize it, but he was the first one who pushed the boundaries on that, and pushed the church into trying to prove that the Earth was not the center of the universe or our solar system at all. The sun was, and obviously we know this to be scientifically accurate now, but he made a good point when he quoted one time, "The Bible shows the way to the heavens, not the way the heavens should go." And that's a really great quote for me, because I've been raised in a Christian home, but I've always been a thinker, and I've always wanted to know why everything works. And so religion has always been kind of difficult for me, but I think this is a great definition on the church has a lot of great information, and it still does to this day. There's a lot of good lessons to be learned, but it shouldn't dictate how modern science is looked at. The church is church and science is science. Those two should not be together. So he's probably my favorite thinker. Just an excellent scientist, and for me, definitely a role model of how you should be, how you should always question society, and you shouldn't just accept everything that people tell you. If I had $1 million, I think the first thing I would do would buy my dad a new car. He always drives just total beaters. I don't think he's ever had a car since I've been alive that's less than 10 years old. He always drives just really beat to hell cars. Engine's about to break down, and he just milks them for all it's worth. Gets 3 or 4 years out of them. Gets a new one. Pays $2,000. Nothing. Takes care of it really well. So I'd like to buy him a new car. I would definitely want to pay off my sister and my 2 best friends, Mitch and Caleb's student debt, just because it's such a crippling and destructive part of our lives as young people right now. Is people are going to be dealing with these consequences for 10, 20, 30, 40 years on student debt, and I don't want to be paying for that for the rest of my life. That just seems ridiculous. We haven't had to do that up until now in the point of time. Why would I change and straddle myself down with all this debt now? And I don't want them to have that. So that's the second thing I would do. I think I would probably pay off my parents' mortgage and buy myself a house with some of the rest of it, and then I definitely want to go on a vacation with my two best friends. I mean, here in Spain, this is just a little flat I'm staying at with my friends' family, just a little small backyard. It's very different than the U.S., but I would love to be able to just travel around the world with my two best friends. I mean, that's the dream. Being able to travel to Spain here this summer has been like the first part of me realizing that dream of traveling around and learning new languages. So that would be a huge part of what I would do with that. I think we'll go back to the first question that was assigned, the hardest thing I've ever done. And for me, the hardest thing that I've ever done probably is the hardest thing I've ever worked on was my relationship with my ex-girlfriend, Abby. She's the only girlfriend I've had. We dated for almost 2 years, but we've been broken up for 2 years now, and that was one of the most trying, difficult things that I've ever worked on, probably the most. You gotta have compromise, you gotta have excellent communication to be in a relationship. As you guys probably know, most people who have been in relationships know, to be successful, you gotta be able to communicate, gotta have some give and take, and that was a great learning experience for me. Looking back on it, like it's not painful anymore, but it's been a great thing to see, like, all the lessons that I've been able to take from that as a person and kind of share those with other people and help my friends who have gone through like similar breakups. It's been really good, great for me to be able to pass on that information. I mean, that's some problems you can't fix, and that's why we broke up. But some problems you can, and those are the problems you need to work on. And you have to really try, and you have to give it your all in a relationship like that. You both have to. You can't just have one person working and the other person just not care, because that's kind of how it was in mine, and that's part of the reason why I broke up. And that's a lot of things in this world aren't meant to be, and that was one of them. So I'd say for the most difficult thing I've ever done, definitely that relationship. I think my greatest personal strength that I could bring to a company is being an excellent people person. And I know that term's used a lot by people, but that is who I am. I have an incredible memory, photographic memory, when it comes to places, directions, people, their faces, the details that go with their faces. I'm incredibly attentive when it comes to detail about people, about what they like, about what they don't like. I'm the guy you want to introduce to like one of your biggest clients. I'm going to sell him everything that he needs to know. I'm going to do it in a manner that he can't say no to, and I'm going to really try and make a personal connection with him. I'm not just going to sell him product A. I'm going to sell him on what product A brings to the table. What does product A do for people in the real world? How is it going to make him money? And what is it going to ultimately do for his company's bottom line? And I'm going to be able to sell him that because I'm going to make a personal relationship with him. Because that's what I believe business is all about. Getting to know people and actually caring about them. Because if you don't care about the people you work with, if you don't care about what you do, you're never going to be successful in life. And I think that for me, being a people person means that I care about who I work with, I care about who I work for, and I care about what I'm actually doing at work. So I think for me, that's my biggest personal strength, bringing to a business. I think that's all, guys. Thanks very much for listening, and I hope you guys see to it that I'm accepted into this program. Have a great day, guys. Bye.